You know, ever since I did reviews on two movie-based games, a lot of people have been really curious on what my favourite games based on a movie are besides Tarzan. So to break you guys out of your curiosity, I'm here to give you my top 10 favourite movie-based games. It's really hard to make a list like this, but I gave it my best shot and chose the ones that I've played and enjoyed in my gaming years. So the rules are, 1. They have to be based on movies and movies only, so no cartoon, TV show or music video based games. And 2, the most common rule, don't bitch if your favourite movie-based video game is not on this list. Just accept it or make your own list, because this one is mine. So with that said, let's begin my top 10 favourite movie-based games. Standing at number 10, Shrek II. Okay, some of you may know that Shrek 2 is my favourite movie in the Shrek series, so it's obvious that I had to play the video game based on it. And to be fair, it is a pretty decent game. The game takes through the levels of the movie's story, where the game lets you play as 4 different characters and you can switch them at any given time. Each character has their own pros and cons, with some characters like Shrek, Fiona and Donkey, who are strong but can't jump that high, and some characters like Gingerbread Man and Puss in Boots, who are agile but can't defeat enemies which only strong characters can. Each character in the game has their own special ability, like Fiona can slow down time for a few seconds, Gingerbread Man can throw cookies to lure enemies into dangerous spots, and Big Bad Wolf can use his big breath to blow away strong obstacles. At the end of each level there's a final part called Hero Time, where one character is left alone to use his or her abilities to finish off the level. I did enjoy this game back in the day because of its 4-player co-op feature and some of the mini games, but what puts it way down at number 10 is that the levels are way too linear for a co-op game and the lack of variety, but I sure as hell thought it was playable and one of the only decent Shrek games out there. Standing at number 9, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Wait a minute, why is this game on the list when I gave it a mixed score on my review of it? Well, despite the mediocre things I may have said about this game, it's still the only Harry Potter game out there I've grown a liking to. Sure, in my review I complained about the broomstick mechanics being atrociously difficult to get used to, and that the spells added to the game could have been executed better. However, I did enjoy the exploration and tasks needed to progress in the game. That, and it does pace the movie's story decent enough. Collecting jelly beans in this game does put more time in the game, since finishing the game normally can be done within a day, but I especially did like how the Hogwarts school was portrayed in this game, and that killing enemies in the game using the knockback jinx spell wasn't frustrating to use. I do recommend this strongly to any Harry Potter fan out there, but to casual gamers you'll probably get ill of boredom by this game. Standing at number 8, Toy Story 2. Now before I say anything, I will say that Mario 64 clones are downright terrible and they deserve the negative reception that they got back in the 90s. The only exception that comes to mind is the Gex series, since it did have its own originality in some points. And as for Toy Story 2, it's far from being a Mario 64 competitor, but does it really level up to the shittiness of that Bubsy 3D gave us as a Mario 64 clone? Well, not exactly. Now there are a ton of flaws in this game, I will admit, that makes it only number 8 on this list, but the game does have its fair share of enjoyable moments. For example, the task and exploration used in this game is so much better than A Bug's Life, as it doesn't require you to use gimmicky gameplay concepts just to complete tasks in a level. It's just old school platforming, and that's all you need to complete your tasks. I sure did like the boss battles they included in this game, even though some were just ball-busting difficult, and its variety of side missions and collecting. I especially did like how the levels were made in this game, because it feels like you're playing as a toy, running around his owner's house and various other lifelike levels. But what puts this game at number 8 is that some levels are frustrating and the lack of originality. So even though this game doesn't succeed that well as a Mario 64 clone, it sure as hell doesn't fail as one either. Standing at number 7, Age The Meltdown. This is one of the most forgotten movie-based games out there. In this game, you don't play as the main characters of the movie, which are Manny, Sid, and Diego. Instead, you play as Scrat, who is constantly chasing after his acorn whilst going through the story of the movie. The game itself actually focuses more on platforming this time, rather than adding too much unnecessary mediocre mini-games. You have a lot of platforming, some interesting level designs, mini-games that thankfully aren't too mediocre to go through, and some action that is pretty funny. I wish I could talk more about this game, but because this game has little to no more facts and there's not much footage of this game, there isn't really much else to say about it. Other than that, it's a pretty good platforming game. Standing at number 6, Over the Hedge. A lot of you may remember I talked about this game in my PlayStation 2 collection, but I have to put it on this list because I had a lot of fun memories with it. In this game you have a 2-player co-op feature and a hub world where you can switch characters between RJ, Vern, Hammy or Stella for your 2-player team. Instead of the game taking place in the movie, the game instead takes place right after the movie. Throughout the levels, the missions usually consist of stealing food from a resident's house or a specific item that takes a lot of challenge to get at. The main enemies of the game are other animals possessed by electric helmets, and they become more difficult to face against as the game progresses. The game also has references to other media made by DreamWorks, which are pretty obvious to spot, to be honest. What makes this game higher than the other ones is that it is heavily action-packed. I mean, with the 2-player co-op feature, the action in this game can be really intense. However, the game is only at number 6 because the game can get a little boring after a while in single player, but if you play it with 2 players, it will remain fun from beginning to end. Standing at number 5, Open Season. This is probably one of the most underrated movie tie-in games out there, and on top of that, it's also perhaps one of the funniest as well. First of all, what makes this game hilarious is that you can use animals as weapons. For example, you can use a skunk to throw at enemies and make a big stink bomb, which works like a grenade, and throwing a squirrel at a tree to shoot acorns at nearby hunters, which works like a mini turret. You play as Boog with Elliot following you around, and you can pick up Elliot at any given time to throw him at higher areas, so he can help you reach those higher locations. There are times when you will play as Elliot, whose only ability to attack hunters is to taunt them into traps. Yes people, that's right, taunting enemies into traps. Wow. But anyway, the game also adds mini-games, and some of them are very reminiscent to past 3D platformers like Crash Bandicoot. I haven't had a movie tie-in game where I laughed my ass off a couple of times. Heck, I had more laughs with this game than I did with the movie. Yeah, crazy huh? But anyway, those are my reasons why Open Season is number 5 on this list. Standing at number 4, Disney's Hercules. Okay, I know it's called Disney's action game featuring Hercules, but I call it Disney's Hercules for short, so there. But anyway, this is simply an awesome game based on an awesome movie. The game is basically a typical side-scrolling game with 3D and elements, which has a lot of action and gives you abilities like a superhero, like using your sword, stomping, and super punching large obstacles. There are a lot of power-ups you can obtain for your sword, like the lightning sword, the fireball sword, and the sonic sword. You can find a helmet in each level, which collecting them will give you an invincibility for a short period of time, and man, the boss battles in the game are just as epic as the ones in the movie itself. The game also has varied levels like the rush levels. These levels consist of Hercules running forward in a 3D environment, and all you have to do is to avoid being hit and just reach safely to point B. Now the game does have generic collectibles like coins and letters of Hercules' name just to get an extra life. That and the game is way too short even for a movie-based game. But aside from that, this is in my opinion one of Disney's best games based on their classic animated movies. Standing at number 3, Disney's Aladdin, the only 2D platformer movie tie-in game on this list. And my favourite version of this game is the SNES version, hands down. And I know that the irate gamer made a negative review on it, and it is one of his reviews that I strongly disagree with because this game is actually very good. It has a lot of top-notch platforming from start to finish, a lot of levels with variety, challenging obstacles, and a ton of collectibles. The main collectibles are 2 types of gems. The green ones are just scattered in your path and don't take a lot of challenge to obtain. The red ones, however, do have a lot of challenge to obtain. I really love the game's atmosphere as it captures the movies perfectly, and the SNES version is where it's at. And the music itself is really catchy, even if it is just remixes of songs from the movie. The only downfall I have with this game, and not to spoil anything, but the reward for collecting all the gems is a big bummer. But aside from that, I haven't had this much fun with a movie tie-in 2D platformer as I have with this one. And to any Aladdin fans out there who haven't played the Aladdin games, this one I heavily recommend. Standing at number 2, Disney's Tarzan. Yes, you guys were obviously expecting this game to be on this list and higher. I mean, with everything I said in my review of the game justifies why it's one of my top favourite movie tie-in games ever. The challenge, the atmosphere, the music, the level design, almost everything in this game captures its movie counterpart correctly 100%. And it has very reminiscent gameplay elements to games like Donkey Kong Country and Crash Bandicoot, and getting this game back on the PlayStation Store was a great moment for me. I would go more into detail, but that would be pointless since I already talked about this game twice in a row. I know a lot of you were probably expecting this game to be number 1, but there is just one game that just surpasses it just by a mile. But even so, I can't express any more words on why this game is just so awesome to me. And finally, standing at number 1, SpiderMan 2. Oh hell yeah! So why is this game my number 1 favourite movie-based game of all time? Well, this game doesn't just capture the movie's atmosphere correctly, it also captures the feeling of being Spider-Man himself perfectly as well. I mean, you are just free in New York City to go and do whatever the hell you want from the open, and help out local citizens in the city with their problems. This makes this game have more of a Spider-Man feel than any other Spider-Man game out there. You still have to do missions that involve the movie's plot though, if you want to complete the game fully, but doing that is a huge reward when you have anything to do at any given time, and just swing from webs, stopping crimes, just a ton of fun altogether. There is only one gripe I have with the game, and that's that getting to the mission locations can take a lot of minutes, especially the size of New York City. But that's the only negative I have with this game. I may not be a big Spider-Man fan, but I certainly did have a blast playing this game, and it's a shame that it's only one of the best works that Activision has put out. Oh well. So there you have it. Spider-Man 2 is my favourite movie-based game of all time. So that was my top 10 favourite movie-based games. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.